Hello and welcome back to the Coming of Cage podcast, your Nicolas Cage movie review podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Derek, and your other host, Ryan, is right over there in the other ear.
That's right. And this year, it's me, Ryan, your favorite ear. Hello. And we are here today with something a little different, or a little the same if you only listened to episode 51.
Right, yeah, those are the only two episodes you listened to. This one and that one. It's a very different show, I think, for you.
Yeah.
But why is that, Ryan? What are we doing today?
We are celebrating, in a way, 100 Nicolas Cage movies by answering
Woo!
viewer and fan questions.
Yeah, 100 Nicolas Cage movies, man.
And we're not even there yet. I mean, we're at 100, but we still got a long ways to go.
We got more. Yeah, we have like 25 more to do. Yeah, it's crazy, right? We have done 100 of these. So back on episode 51, we went and looked back at the first 50. And here we are at episode 102, and we are looking back at the first 100. So it's a lot of ground to cover. We are not going to sit here and rattle off all 100 movies that we've watched, unless Ryan, you really want to.
No.
Uh,
It would be like the Animaniacs doing the state capitals thing, or what was it? Or the countries thing.
countries,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Yakko.
We'll turn it into a
Um,
song.
Now, if you're curious what we've covered, obviously you can look at our episode list because the titles of each movie is the title of the episode. Or you could check out our interactive Cage-O-Meter. You can go to comingofcage.com to find that. And we update our Cage-O-Meter as we score these movies. And it will have almost all of the movies on it by the time this episode airs. It usually lags 2 or 3 episodes. So we've got through episode 97 on there right as we're recording. So you'll be pretty close, but you'll get the general idea of what we've covered. And like Ryan said, we've got questions. Some of them are from viewer/listeners. There's a few in here that are just kind of a little more generic that I brought over from episode 51. And Ryan, I thought, like last time, we could kind of alternate who asks the question and what order we answer and just kind of, keep it fresh.
Sure.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to kick things off with the
Great.
first question. Our first question comes from Marcy, who's a long-time listener and provided questions the first time around. So, hi, Marcy. Thank you for your support. Our first question is, what is your favorite Nicolas Cage movie quote?
Does it say movie quote or does it just say
It
quote?
just says quote, but I think the interpretation here is not like from an interview.
Oh, okay, because I did one of each.
Did you?
I didn't know.
Okay,
I didn't want to assume Marcy's attention with
that's a
that
good
quote,
point.
unlike other people who may just
That's
want to
true.
assume that.
Yeah, I made so many assumptions tonight.
Exactly. So if we're going off of movie quote, which would in fact be Derek's assumption as to what this question was, and we're going based on the last 50 movies that we've watched, not on the full 100, I would say my favorite quote probably comes from Raising Arizona,
Ooh.
in which H.I. McDonough is talking about the love of his life's uh dried out innards, where he says that he says her insides were a rocky place where my seed could find no purchase. Which, no matter where I am, that line makes me crack up because it's just the way he talks is great.
That's a fun one. That's
Yeah.
definitely a fun one.
Yeah. And then if we're not talking about movie quotes and we aren't just assuming what
Jesus
this
Christ.
viewer, I presume to be a very beautiful viewer, uh, was intending, I took one of his personal quotes that I like, which is karaoke is kind of like a prayer. You're not supposed to videotape that. I'm not a professional singer. I'm just enjoying my life and blowing off some steam with friends, which is
Nice.
apparently his philosophy about karaoke and how much he loves it. And anybody who says they don't want to go sing karaoke with Nicolas Cage needs to rethink their priorities or they're lying, one of the two.
Oh yeah, I would go do that in a second. Are you kidding? I would
Uh,
stop recording right now.
yeah, absolutely.
No offense, but
Oh yeah, I would take major offense to that.
Well,
What about you, Dare Bear? Where are you at with movie quotes and with other quotes? Because now you have to come up with one on the spot.
I don't have to. No,
Okay.
so for mine, I read it as movie quotes, but I also didn't read it as just the last 50. So I looked at my favorite quote over the 100 movies that we have reviewed so far. And mine is from Pig, which if you've watched the show, you've listened to the show, I love that movie very, very much.
You experienced that movie on this
I
podcast for the
did.
first time. So, yeah, very
Yes.
special movie for you.
I waited like 2 years to watch that movie just to do it on the show. But it was worth it. It was good to be able to go in really cold and have that conversation. So my favorite quote is from that movie. And I'm not going to say the whole thing, but it's the scene where he's talking to the chef, whose name is also Derek, and he's talking about why do you care about these people? They don't care about you. None of them. They don't even know you because you haven't shown them. And then there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more, and then he goes, "We don't get a lot of things to really care about." And that scene is arguably one of my all-time favorite scenes, not just in a
Wait,
Nicolas Cage movie,
that's what I was just going to ask. Can you please specify whether you mean Nicolas Cage movie or overall?
just overall, the way it's shot, the way it's performed. Both of these guys. I mean, the Derek character has essentially nothing to say in it, but he has to react the whole
There is
time.
a third character in this scene too, who also is really great, isn't there? But
Yes.
yeah, but he doesn't say anything, I don't think.
No, not
And
in this,
but
not in this exchange, but it's
but
just that,
is he's a part of it too.
yes. And they're
Yeah,
sitting at this restaurant and Nick is just delivering this monologue and it's so well delivered, it's so well written, and it's so well shot. I just love the whole thing. And so that is my favorite right there, just straight up, out of the gate. Um,
it's a great movie, a great quote.
Yeah, I love it. It was really good. And look, Nick said a lot of really cool things in interviews and stuff that everybody loves. I don't really have one just off like the top of my head here. I'm kind of looking through to see if I can find. I had a couple of like vaguely, but I don't remember exactly what they are. So I'm not gonna just say. But
There are a few of his quotes that are, less kind of like funny, that are more about like how he loves the work and like the work is, you know, really important to him. And he talks about how he's made mistakes with money in the past and, that now he's trying to be a better man and correct those mistakes and, live his life through the work. And, I think a lot of us wish that we could enjoy our job so much that we want to do it as much as we can,
hmm
which is what, people fault him for saying, oh, he'll take any script, any movie, whatever, which may have been true at one point. It's certainly not true these days, but it's because he loves the work and he just wants to do it as much as he can.
I found the one that I wanted to kind of call out. So he was on Colbert and they were talking about like life and existence and death and things like that, and he said, "I'd like to think whatever spark is animating our bodies, once the body passes on, that spark continues to go."
Yeah, this
What?
that's from the Colbert questionnaire. That's one of the questions
Mhm.
on the Colbert questionnaire is, what do you think happens after we die?
Right. And then he just goes on to say, but whether or not that electricity has consciousness or not, who could really say? And I love that. I love that perspective on it. He does seem like an extremely thoughtful guy, and we all make mistakes. Anybody who's listening to this, if you're like, no, I've always been perfect. Yeah, okay. And so to see that, he does own up to mistakes that he's made and he's tried to get better and he's tried to grow. I mean, that's all we can do, right?
And
And
he always
so,
has. Like I was talking about, like with the financial situation, he's been very open about it.
mhm,
You know, maybe he doesn't love talking about it, but he hasn't tried to hide and shy away from it either.
right. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, we should all aspire to have that level of transparency.
Well, and to your earlier point, just how much he cares about the work. Yeah, he sees this as that this is his job. He has a responsibility to do this. And so a lot of people dog on him for how many movies he puts out. And he's like, but it's my job. Aren't I supposed to be acting? Right.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Like, shouldn't I be wanting to do this all the time? Why are other actors not doing that?
exactly.
I mean, he doesn't question that, but that's kind of the
No, but
implication.
yeah, like why would you insult him for doing a lot of what his job is?
Right.
You
And
know,
what he loves doing and has
exactly.
wanted to do his whole life. Yeah.
hmm hmm All right. Well,
Okay.
let's move
Next
on. What's the next
question.
one? Yeah.
Okay, Derek, this one's coming to you first, and hope I only put one answer for this one, so
Same.
hopefully we didn't put the same one.
Oh no.
Which of his movies should get a sequel that did not get a sequel? And I'm assuming most of these questions are intended with being in the last 50 movies, but you can run it however you want. This is supposed to be we already did all the first 50, so I kind of used that as my
I went
guideline, but
I went back and forth a little bit because with some of these, you could kind of include the whole conversation. But this one's also from Marcy. Marcy sent we've got three questions from Marcy that we're going to be going over. So for this one, my first choice, if we had this conversation a couple of years ago, I could have actually said, which was Lord of War, but it's actually getting a sequel. So that's really exciting. So I went with, and maybe this is the easy answer, so I apologize, but I went with The Rock. Look, I love The Rock. I grew up watching The Rock, probably seeing it younger than I should have, but I love The Rock. And it sets up this ridiculous possible sequel that, you've got Goodspeed's got the microfilm, and Sean Connery's not James Bond characters in The Wind, and they're supposed, theoretically would have met back up in a potential sequel that obviously now cannot be made for a lot of reasons. And so I think it would have been really interesting to see how they would have gotten out of the hole that they had dug themselves in. Because we had this whole conversation on our episode about The Rock, where like what could Goodspeed possibly have done at this point with this microfilm? You use it and you're immediately a target. You turn it in and now you've made Mason a target again, and all this other stuff. So that's I would have liked to have seen where that went.
yeah, I could have seen that. I'm not going to touch on that because you covered it, but to your comment about Lord of War, that would probably, I mean, it was fine. It was a fine movie. I don't remember what I rated it, but I that would probably have not even been in my top five movies that deserve
Oh,
sequels that
okay.
he's made. I don't really understand the how much people like really want a sequel for that one. I thought the movie was fine and well consolidated and didn't really need more, but I'm excited to see what comes from it. It's just when you have a really good movie, it doesn't necessarily mean it needs a sequel, and that was one that I think could have stood on its own without needing to have, more. But
I think that's totally fair.
for me, I said Willy's Wonderland. I think a Willy universe, where this guy that started this, or that had this Willy's Wonderland thing going on, has a whole secret chain of different Chuck E. Cheese style restaurants across the country, and Nick Cage's character, who doesn't speak throughout any of these movies in this fictional universe, uh, has to figure out what is causing all these things to come to life, and he gets closer and closer to whatever the big bad is, and you can do some really cool either supernatural or kind of demonic possession type stuff with it, and make it a whole series. Like I could see, there's however many Scream movies now, or like these other
hmm
horror movies, Saw trilogy, Saw movies. I could see a whole series of these. And you don't they don't even all need to be Nick. You could have multiple protagonists, and then they meet up like an Avengers style thing, take
Oh.
down, at the end, whoever is in charge of all this. But I think that there was a lot of potential there, especially with the fact that when it came out, it was basically the Five Nights at Freddy's video games, but
hmm
better than the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And so I think that if had they gone that route, they could have made more and done, a larger cinematic universe and kind of had that side on lock. Well, Five Nights at Freddy's had the video game side on lock. And they could have even done a crossover at some point potentially. That would have been interesting. Five Nights at or Freddy's could have been one of his secret, franchises around the country.
Yeah.
Tie it in that way.
No, I think that's really good. I was 99% sure that's what you were going to say. So I
Yeah.
wanted to avoid
Well,
that.
I really like that movie, and I know you enjoyed it too. So yeah,
It was super fun. Yeah,
yeah.
Willy's Wonderland was great. For anybody curious, we reviewed Willy's Wonderland on episode 76 1 year ago from this episode coming out. We reviewed The Rock more recently. That was episode 98. And for those curious, Lord of War was a while ago, episode 40. So if anybody wants to check those out, I do have an honorable mention, and that was Matchstick Men. I think that could have been
Could have
cool.
been.
Con men, grifters, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of stories you could put there. So,
Yeah.
all right. Third and final question from Marcy. Here we go. What is your favorite outfit, costume, or look from Nicolas Cage?
Let's see, I don't know if I have this saved or if I can send it in the chat here.
Oh no. What are we going to do here?
If we're not talking movies,
Okay.
I have one that's for movies and one that's not for movies. Again, because I didn't want to presume what I presume to be beautiful Marcy said or meant by this message or by this question.
Okay.
So the one I'm sending in the Zoom chat, if I don't know if you could pull that up for the
Oh
recording,
yeah. Yeah.
is one of my favorite looks of his. I think one that you don't see very often. Usually when you see people talking about his personal looks, you see him talking about like the pink, anime jacket.
It's a good look.
That's the common one. So that's my favorite Nick Cage like street look. I particularly like the white boots with the silver. Yeah, if you're
Yeah.
listening to this, it's basically him in like a spaceman silver like long jacket, black shirt, black pants, silver chain with bright white boots, and aviator sunglasses.
And he's got
Uh,
his tight beard
yeah,
also.
tight beard. Yeah, it's a good look.
It is. It is.
If we're going movie looks. This is not going to be a big surprise to anybody that knows me, I don't think. I love a good jacket.
Mm.
And Wild at Heart, snakeskin jacket. I wish I could pull that look off. And I love the quote in the movie when somebody tells him he looks foolish or whatever, and he says that that's like his individuality. It's how he shows his individuality or whatever. It's just a really good look, and I actually think that Laura Dern had really interesting looks throughout that movie too. Um, I'm not big on that movie, but I will say like the costuming and aesthetic there was great, and I know that Nick Cage brought that jacket, like that was one of his contributions to the movie. So.
That's true. Yeah.
And I know I have a guess as to what your favorite movie look is, but I want to hear you.
I want to know what your guess is.
Okay, I'm gonna send it in the chat, but don't look.
Oh, don't look. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can say what it is. Or here, how about I type it and I'll just hit enter.
You're hilarious. Okay, so for me, I went with movie. I interpreted the question as movie, and I've really got two, and I don't think they would be super shocking or anything like that to anybody. The first is Sympathy for the Devil. Yeah, that's exactly what Ryan just dropped in chat. Yeah, the red suit. He's got this deep red suit
It's a
jacket.
great look. And
It's
that was an
so
honorable mention for me too, but I knew you were gonna pick that one, so I didn't.
it's and he's got the red hair, and he's very wild in that movie. And
I actually think you could pull off that suit. Like if you
oh,
ever wanted to in real life, I think
thanks,
you would
man.
look great in that suit.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. This was a movie that I liked a little bit more than you. Usually, you and I are within like a point of each other, and we had like a 3 point difference on this one.
Yeah.
But I loved his character from Sympathy for the Devil. I thought it was just very cool, very stylish, very kind of outrageous, and all of that. And then, just because the character is so unique, and I thought that he was so perfect for the role, even if the movie wasn't great. And that is his Dracula in Renfield. Not a great movie by any stretch, but I thought his look was perfect for the
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi style,
Agreed.
you know.
Yeah, I
So,
definitely agree with that one. I did like the costuming for that movie.
all right.
Okay, so if we're gonna go for the next one, I believe it's my turn to
Yes.
ask you if
And this question
you
comes from
this
Amber.
yes, this is from Amber. Shout out to Amber. Thank you for the question. If you could take any Nick Cage character to dinner, which character would it be and why?
So Ryan, I know you know who I'm gonna pick here. I think it's pretty obvious if you know me and you listen to the show, but it's Rob from Pig.
Would you want him to cook for you too?
Well, I mean, if he's offering, yeah, I mean, absolutely.
That doesn't
Um,
really isn't really how taking somebody to dinner works
no,
generally, making them cook, but
no, but I just think it's one of the most thoughtful and kind of deep characters that he's ever played. Not to insult any of his other characters, but this one is just so deep and so rich and has such like an interesting intellect and so many interesting things to say. And he really knows the world of like culinary arts and things of that nature. I think sitting down with him and analyzing his life and his career and what drove him to where we find him at the beginning of the movie and all of that would just be utterly fascinating.
would you ask him for cooking tips? I know you're not necessarily the biggest cook in the world, but you do some special meat preparation and stuff like that. He may have some.
I mean, I would certainly like I'd feel him out over the course of the meal and kind of see how how he is there because he's a very kind of solemn character by the
True.
time we meet him, and so I don't know that I'd push for any favors or anything. It's
Maybe have him slip you a truffle.
sure, yeah. But what about you, Ryan?
Okay, well, I have two, but one of them's kind of not really a fair answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the one that would be, I would say, not a fair answer is Nick with a K Cage
Oh my God,
from Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, because obviously that's like the character closest to the real Nicolas Cage.
that's funny.
Even though it's kind of a caricature, but obviously I'd love to have dinner with Nicolas Cage himself. Being as that's kind of a gimme answer, I'm going to go back to Racing Arizona and say H.I. McDonough because everything from his accent to just like the way he speaks and his the way obviously the way he's written for the movie, but the way the character speaks and just his general vocabulary, I'm a huge fan of, and I think that yeah, that would be a really interesting. And plus, he's just such an out there character.
Hmm.
I feel like he has a lot of stories to tell that we didn't see in the movie, and
Oh yeah.
it would be fun to hear those out.
I mean, can you just imagine him rambling on while you're like eating
I would
burgers
be
or something?
so happy.
Like,
That would be my whole goal is that I say like nothing throughout the whole dinner, and he just goes. Let him go. You
yeah.
know?
No,
Yeah,
I
I think
think
that'd be great.
that would be pretty fun. And we've mentioned Raising Arizona quite a bit. For people who are curious, we reviewed that in episode 82.
And we did both quite enjoy that movie.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely worth a watch for sure.
Hmm.
All right. This is Amber's second and final question here. Which of his characters is the most, quote, badass?
Okay. I have two answers for this question. One is more like in terms of just general strength, like power levels, and one is more for like what I think a normal person would say is a person that's bad, like what a normal person would think is badass.
Mm,
But Ghost Rider would be like, in my opinion,
sure.
probably the most badass in terms like he has the most badass power set and like he's super powerful. In the comic books, he can take out almost anybody that has any guilt for anything in their life.
Hmm.
Um, and that's they didn't really go that deep into the movie, but he's still extremely powerful and extremely badass. But if we're
And he's
talking,
got those abs too,
he did have
I,
those yeah, CGI abs allegedly.
he,
Um,
I thought he said they were real.
no, he said they were real, but people still claim that they were CGI, but
Well,
which
because
is
this was
crazy because have you seen his bodies like in other movies? Come
he
on.
was fit, yeah.
Yeah.
And this was a long time ago. I mean, this was before like the real superhero cut phase,
Yeah.
you know,
This was before they were on, human growth, hormones or whatever.
or horse. What is it?
Yeah,
Horse
horse
steroids.
steroids. Yeah. But in general, I think, and in the spirit of the question, I would probably say Big Daddy is
Oh, from Kick-Ass.
from Kick-Ass is the most badass.
Hmm.
He's like he's like Batman is badass, and
Right.
Big Daddy is essentially Batman. So, it works out.
Yeah, and I was fairly confident that's who you were gonna pick because I know how much you love that movie and that character in particular. So I
100%.
so I didn't want to go with that, but I agree with you. I think he's definitely in the argument for that. So for mine, I've got two because it's in two very different ways. So the first one is Yuri Orlov from Lord of War. He is a badass in a very kind of cerebral, courageous guts like kind of way, doing very dangerous things with very dangerous people, and staying very cool headed under pressure, and that type of thing. That's a badass in that kind of an intellectual kind of way. Then, what I think is probably more of the stereotypical way of looking at the question is the janitor from Willy's Wonderland, right?
Sure.
He goes in there, he's by himself, and he's just tearing these things apart with nothing but whatever those weird energy drinks are that he has 80 of throughout the movie. And he barely seems to get phased by that at all. He just keeps going back to play pinball. So those were the two that I went with, for different.
Big Daddy would whoop both their asses, though. Let's be clear.
I mean, he would in a fight, he would certainly beat Yuri. There's no question about that. For the janitor, I don't know. It depends what that energy drink does to him.
The janitor doesn't even have any armor or anything, and
Oh
he can be
well,
injured.
I guess it depends what kind of
And Big
fight we're
Daddy has
talking about here.
guns.
Look, this is the same old argument about Batman. Like, how much prep time does he get? And
I don't
everything.
think he needs any prep time. I think you just
But
drop them both in the room, and he's gonna fuck him up.
but do they get the same equipment?
No, they get the equipment that they get in the movies.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, so if that energy drink makes him super badass, give that to Big Daddy then, and then we'll give him equal equipment. And a Big Daddy's then gonna whoop his ass even more because he has actual training.
We don't know the janitor's backstory though.
I
That's what.
saw him fight. He does not have actual training. Well, to be fair, it does show like some dog tags or something at one point. So I guess he has the most basic
He's
levels of
military.
military
He's
training.
but we
Yes.
don't. I don't think we know what branch. If I recall, I don't think
No.
it's specified. Um,
But
but
we could
anyway,
probably argue that all night, but we should
we
probably
could.
not do that.
Let's move
Okay.
on.
So from Ian, thank you, Ian, for the question. If you could have Nick replace any character in any movie slash series, what would it be? Very, very broad question there.
So this is obviously like this is a tough one because I have a lot of franchises I really care about, and there's some I would love him to be in, right? We've talked about it before. I would love for him to show up in Star Trek, and he would love to be in Star Trek, but I don't know if there's a character in that I would want him to swap out like the actor for. So I went with
You would
something
want him to be his own unique character.
exactly,
Yeah.
yes, and so I went with something that is more modern and I think would be a little bit of an FU to a different company that did not handle an opportunity of his very well. I think he should replace Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. I think that if you fuck up his face and you put him in a cool cloak with gauntlets and give him, all these abilities and these big monologues and everything like that, he could deliver that till the end of time and do an incredible job. And DC never gave him a fair shot. He's had arguably two blown chances at Superman. I think this would be an opportunity for him to show that he can stand on these massive AAA productions with 250 $300 million budgets and really be the core villain.
But you are forgetting that DC did give him a third opportunity as Superman for Teen Titans Go to the Movies,
You're
which
right.
I
You're
would
right.
argue is extremely successful because that movie is great.
Agreed. I had forgotten about that one. You're
Yeah,
right.
I don't know how you forgot about it. I'm still
It's
waiting for you to show it to your daughter.
it's been a long time, and we watched that pretty early on, if I recall. Teen Titans, yeah, episode 31. That was 3 years ago, man.
Well, I'll record an episode with your daughter when she watches it and see what she thinks.
Okay. So that's mine. That's my
I
swap
like it.
there.
Honestly, I think he would be great. That would be, I don't know that the general public would be on board for that, but
I think
we
it.
both know he would do great. But yeah, I don't think the
Yeah.
general, he isn't as marketable, you know?
Oh no, I mean that's why it's no offense to Robert Downey Jr. He's clearly an incredible actor, but like that's why he's in this role though,
Yeah,
is because of the interest in Tony,
right.
So
Yeah, and yeah, Johnny Blaze doesn't have that same level of interest.
does not.
Although he might show up in Secret Wars, I'm still hoping, or Doomsday.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Okay, so this one for me, I mean, I'm sure you had the same struggle as that. It's just There's so many projects out there, and to just narrow it down to anything, and he can do anything. So, there are probably some that he would be perfect for, and I'm sure we've talked about him through various podcasts. But the most interesting one for me that just popped in my head when I was looking at these questions in the moment, this is far from like what I might say any other day, but I thought it would be fun to put him as Ruby Rod from The Fifth Element
Ooh.
and just kind of let him go crazy. Look, I love, 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 love Chris Tucker as Ruby Rod. Iconic, 100%. But I think that Nicolas Cage would bring such a different energy to it. And we
That's certainly
haven't
true.
we haven't really seen him do much in the way of playing like a more feminine role like that.
Mm,
It's a weird role because it definitely has some masculinity to it, but I think it's more of an inherently feminine character.
hmm
And we
No, that's
haven't really
interesting.
seen him do that kind of a character before. So it'd be interesting to just have put him in that similar kind of uh look. It wouldn't obviously be the exact same, but
hmm
similar kind of thing. And I'm not talking probably modern day Nick Cage. It would have to be
No,
like 99 Nick
yeah.
Cage when the movie came out. Which would be the complete opposite of what movies he was doing during that time period.
I don't know, because I mean, in the '90s, that's when he did, the Trinity, and he was doing bigger
Yeah,
blockbusters.
but
So
he was the action star in those movies.
that's true. He's the lead. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Ruby Rod
true.
doing like a feminine side character that isn't really good at action things.
No, I think he would have been really well suited for it a decade earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
When he was doing like, The Boy in Blue, and he was doing,
true.
Moonstruck and like all of those. I think he would have been really fit for it right there.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Um, but I had another one. Oh, so this one doesn't really line up with the question as it's asked, but I do think it would be really fun to see him as like one of the lone human characters in a Muppet-based movie.
Yeah, totally. Oh man, like I want to see him do like a Christmas Carol that way,
Yes, if
where
you
he
redid a
plays
Christmas
Scrooge.
Carol, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's already kind of been done. A Muppet
But
Christmas Carol.
maybe that's my
Oh
answer. Is he
yeah.
replaces Michael Caine.
Oh God, but can you replace it would be a much different movie,
It
but
would.
it would be great. Still, I
Well,
have no doubt.
it's like that joke though about Michael Caine about how I'm going to play this as serious as a car crash. Like
Right.
he does, and he
Yeah.
does that extremely well. Nick, I think, would be a much more. He wouldn't be like Tim Curry in Muppet Treasure Island, but somewhere in the middle.
Closer to that. Yeah, closer to that for sure. Yeah, no, that would be great too. Yeah. I'm a fan.
All right. So moving on, we have a question from Jordan here. If you could open a Nicolas Cage themed restaurant, what would you call it, and what would you serve? Big question.
Okay, so I have a few.
Okay.
I love me a good pun. So all of mine are kind of punny answers rather than serious answers. But I have Leaving Las Vegas, which would be a high-end vegan restaurant,
Sure.
obviously. I have Conair, which is going to be an ice cream restaurant,
Okay.
where you get a free bunny with every cone.
Oh my God. It's all
Uh,
bunny tracks.
and then the Wickerman Coffee Shop, where you have to yell, "Not the beans!" every
Jeez.
time you get your coffee.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
you're welcome.
So I went a little bit of a different route on that. I have a restaurant and then I have dishes for that restaurant.
Let's hear it.
So the name of my restaurant is Nicholas Deliciousness. A little hard to say, but kind of going.
Okay.
And basically the dishes are all themed off of his characters or movies. So you have, for example, Vampire's Kiss. It's a garlic egg omelet drizzled with red hot honey.
Okay.
No, not feeling it. Okay.
I'm not gonna eat it, but
Okay. You've got the pig, which is a big platter of various, you know, pig-like cuts, bacon, pulled pork, ribs, that kind of thing.
that one
We,
would be more in my wheelhouse.
we have the Rock, which is a island of Idaho nachos shaped like Alcatraz. You don't like Idaho nachos?
They're all right.
Oh man. Okay. And
I
then
mean, so far I'm not going to eat at this restaurant. I'm going to
okay,
be
well
honest with
that's
you.
fine. Like this isn't my like I'm not a restaurateur. I'm not a marketing branding guy. If you look at our streaming numbers and social media, I think you'll
You'll
see
see
that.
that. Yeah.
That's not where I shine. All right. And then this is very low hanging fruit, very easy. But we have a family meal. It's called the Family Man, and it's just
Sure.
a family meal. Very,
Nice. Very low hanging.
yeah.
You really grabbed that fruit.
I did. I did.
I like it.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
Oh, did you have something else to say about
No,
that?
no, that was it.
Okay.
I thought it was my turn, but it's not. It's your turn.
It's my turn.
Yeah.
This question is from Ray, who I'm also assuming is just a wonderfully beautiful lady. I wouldn't know, but I'm just assuming that
Yes.
because
Well,
she
it's a
likes our
good
podcast.
assumption. I mean,
If
you
they
don't like
like our
my.
podcast, I'm just going to assume that they're a beautiful person in general, you
I
know?
don't know if she's ever said she liked it. You
Well,
know,
fair. But she
maybe
felt
she hate
she
listens.
she yes has enough sympathy for us to throw us a question.
That's true.
Um, Out of all the movies we've seen, pick one movie to swap Nicolas Cage with whoever the lead or co-lead was and why.
Okay. So I thought about this one long and hard because there aren't really that many where I would want to see him swap, but there was one that stuck out to me,
Okay.
and it's the Frozen Ground. I want him to swap roles with John Cusack's character, Robert Hansen. Now, for those who don't know the movie or don't recall, Nick plays a sergeant up in Alaska, and John Cusack plays a serial killer. And that was a long time ago. Episode 37 is when we did that one. And so I think it would be really cool to see that flipped because I think Nick playing, we saw him play the serial killer in Long Legs, and that's fine. But that's a much more like mystical, magical kind of serial
Yeah.
killer. This is very grounded. This is just a terrible person doing terrible things in kind of a remote part of the world. And I think Nick has the range and the physicality to take on a role like that. And I think it would have been really interesting to swap that and have kind of the stronger, more aggressive actor on that side and have John Cusack on the sergeant side. I like John Cusack a
I
lot,
think we talked
but
about this when we
did we?
reviewed them. I think. I know we've had this discussion on a few movies where we thought maybe Nick wasn't in the right role for for that movie. And I think that at the very least, you and I have talked about it before because I think
Mm,
that's a good choice.
thank you.
Um, Mine are mostly less serious. Um, I picked Sean Travolta in Face Off.
Whatever, man.
I think that would be very interesting, see that switch a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I also think having him switch with Pedro Pascal and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent would
Oh
be
God, he's just a huge
pretty.
Pedro
Yeah,
fan.
no, he's a huge Nick fan, and
Oh
Pedro is
my
playing
God.
Nick.
Oh my God.
That'd be amazing. Um, and then if you listen to our one of our more recent episodes, The Carpenter's Son, um, you know that I love the idea of Teen Jesus being played by an old man from
Oh my God.
The Righteous Gemstones. So I would put Nick in the role of Jesus in that movie. But we're going to change the movie title to Teen Jesus.
Of course. Of
Yeah.
course. Okay.
It
Great.
wouldn't be creepy at all seeing him spy on like 14-year-old girls taking showers and stuff as a hey, but he's a teenager in this
Uh-huh.
situation. In this
Uh-huh.
situation, he just looks like a 60-year-old man.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm
Derek, you're thrilled with how this is going so far, I can
so great.
tell.
All right. So moving on then. Now we get into some, more basic questions, things that we've also talked about for our first 50. And these focus specifically on these last 50, 51 through 100. What are your top 5 favorite movies that we covered in the last 50?
I don't think there's going to be any surprises here on either of our ends. There's probably going to be
Probably
a lot of
not.
crossover. And these aren't really surprises if you know Nicolas Cage movies and just in general, because we've done a lot of his really big movies in the last 50. You know, Kick Ass, these aren't in any specific order, but Kick Ass, Con Air, Face Off, The Rock, Raising Arizona. That's 5 right there. I would be surprised if you didn't have basically the exact same 5. um, or at least match 80% of that. But I do want to shout out Deadfall. I want to shout out Honeymoon in Vegas. I want to shout out Willy's Wonderland. Those were all up there too. Deadfall, not so much because it was a good movie, but Nick's performance in it is just ridiculous.
Mm. I mean, my list is similar. So I do have Con Air and The Rock, which I went into the show loving.
Right.
I also have Kick Ass. I have Matchstick Men. I really liked Matchstick Men.
It was
And
great. I really liked it too.
I have Willy's Wonderland.
Wow. Over Face Off
I
and Raising
did.
Arizona.
Yeah, I did. Just because like I just really loved the concept. It's so different from everything else. He doesn't speak. We don't get to really know anything about him. He's just kind of thrown into it. And I thought the costumes were really cool and the set pieces were fun and like I just really enjoyed it. And maybe it's because my expectations were low, whereas like I had seen Face Off a dozen times already, and um, Raising Arizona expectations were really high because of the cast and all of that. But you know, they're up there. Those two are right.
Yeah, I
Like
think
they're
if we
they're
did like
next in
top
line.
10, we probably would have come in almost
Yes.
identical.
Both of those are in the top 10 for sure. They're probably 6 and 7,
Yeah.
you know?
And Matchsticks Man would have been top 10 for sure for me too. So,
So there you go. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, let's see. The opposite end now. What are your top five disliked movies we covered from the last 50?
Yeah. So for these, I doubt that these will be too much of a surprise. Maybe one or two of them might be, but I think a couple of them are very obvious. So first is Never on Tuesday for so many reasons. That movie is messed up.
Yeah.
Um, Industrial Symphony number one, The Dream of the Brokenhearted. I kind of have a bit of a rule that I'm just not going to like your movie if I can't explain it to somebody.
Right. And that you can't even explain a single thing about it to them.
All I can tell you is that he reprises his role from Wild at Heart. I guess that's
Allegedly. And he's
allegedly
in it for 8 seconds.
eighth. Yeah. Um, this one I feel a little bad about because I wanted to like it, and that's Jujitsu.
Hmm.
Jujitsu is on
If
there.
this was top five disappointing movies, that would be in there for me too, because
Yeah,
I really liked the idea of that movie.
it's a fun idea. On
Yeah.
paper, it sounded great. Um, Running with the Devil. Thought that was pretty terrible. And last but certainly the least, no, Time to Kill,
We
which
have
is
very similar on this. There's a couple differences. Um, Time to Kill, Industrial Symphony number one, or whatever it's called, Industrial Symphony thing. Never on Tuesday. And then we start to split a little bit here. Boy in Blue and Astro Boy.
wow, really. Astro Boy, you liked Astro Boy less than Running with the Devil.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
You're learning things about me through this podcast you never knew.
Well, I mean, I gave
I
Running with the
don't
Devil.
inherently hate animated movies, honestly. I don't. I think I just inherently hate animated movies that are targeting kids specifically, and there's nothing really for adults to enjoy. I don't know.
I mean, all right, man, it's fine.
Astro Boy and the Croods for me are like not that far apart, and I really did not like the Croods, as you know. So
Fair enough.
yeah,
Fair enough. Okay. Well, then there you go. There you have it. We did have three of the same movies.
yeah.
I think next question is for me. Are there any hidden gems or pleasant surprises from the last 50?
So this and the next question are going to be not fun answers from me,
Okay.
because the answer for me really is not no. There aren't really any hidden gems. We had, I think, one really hidden gem in the first 50, The Trust, that I still
Yes.
talk about to a lot of people. But in this group of movies, in the past 50, a lot of them we've done have been big name movies and well-known movies that are good. The only one that would be I would even consider close to that for me was Matchstick Men because I hadn't seen it.
Mm.
But it's pretty well known to be a great movie. It's not a secret. So I didn't really have any hidden gems, or I mean, pleasant surprises would probably be more. on the,
Yeah.
I mean, but really, there weren't that many surprises for me in the last 50 movies. I don't know. I'm sorry, that's a boring answer, but that's just the
But it's an
truth.
honest answer.
Yeah.
That's fine. I didn't have any hidden gems this time. I do think The Trust, like straight up, anybody listening, go watch The Trust. It's him and it's Elijah Wood playing dirty cops in Vegas. It's great. Um, I had a couple pleasant surprises. The first one
Willy's
is
Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland. I
Yeah, yeah.
really like. I thought that was going to be trash. Like, I'm sorry to anybody who
Even though
worked
I
on it or
told
anything.
you that it wasn't going to be.
Well, but like I thought maybe it was going to be like a so bad it's good kind of thing, like Mystery Science Theater type stuff. But
Yeah.
it's actually really good. It's
Yeah.
really good, and I would love to see more. Your idea of like this whole like kind of Willie's verse,
Yeah.
give it to me. Like, let's go. Like
Right here in this vein.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
So that was just really enjoyable. I just had a fun time with it, and I'm not a guy like I never played Five Nights at Freddy's. I haven't seen those movies either, but I grew up a
And it's
Chuck E.
not
Cheese
that
kid.
deep. You can just go in
You
and
know,
enjoy it. So there's something to be said for movies that you don't have to like put a ton of brain power into. You can just like let it be what it is and enjoy it.
Well, not everything has to have some insane explanation, right? He's got these
Right.
energy drinks. We don't really know how many he has. We don't really
He's got a
know,
pinball table that he likes to hump while he's
like,
playing.
whatever, like,
Yeah.
it's
He was
just
a soldier of some kind,
some
a military person.
kinds.
We don't know. He
It's
drives this, what was it, a Camaro?
Mustang.
Mustang? Yeah, that he does donuts in for no reason. I mean,
I just really enjoyed it. And the other one, because frankly, from the DVD menu to what I had read about it, I expected this movie to just be a bad movie. And that was Honeymoon in Vegas.
yeah,
I expected it to be bad. And it's a really cute, fun movie.
yeah.
It really is. It was just a nice, enjoyable, fun
It
time.
was
And I was
pleasant.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it wasn't like mind blowing or
no,
anything, but it was just yeah, better than we thought it was going to be.
it was a pleasant surprise. And if you're looking for just a light, kind of romantic movie that mostly takes place in Vegas, go check it out. It was
Yeah, where
fun.
you get to see Nick Cage skydive as Elvis. It's pretty great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are mine.
Okay. And we're going to a last question here, which again is going to be a really boring answer for me. Any changed opinions?
So the short answer for me on this one is no. Um, at this point, we've seen him play so many different types of characters, so many genres, so many production levels that I am just kind of convinced he could be in anything. He
Yeah,
really could. He doesn't phone it in. That's not his style. He can play, the leading man, the action star, the sidekick, the background character, the, whatever is acid yellow and sunny, like he can do the whole spectrum,
right,
and he doesn't care if it's a $200 million blockbuster or a $1 million indie flick. He's bringing the same level of care and the same level of intensity. And so, no, I don't think there are any changed opinions other than like the dude's just done a lot of movies, and some
right.
are good and some are bad.
Yeah. And I mean, he's not the problem with any of the movies. Um, but yeah, my answer is literally we have so many data points at this point for movie quality and caginess that there's not like I always have a comparison.
Hmm.
You know, he like you said, he's done so many movies. No matter what we watch, there's something that has some similarity somewhere that I can compare this movie to get that in terms of quality and get that data set there and judge it based off that. It was harder in the first 50 because we came into it with a blank canvas and started putting dots on it all over the place.
Yep.
But now we have more dots and more isolated, and so we can really be specific in terms of our ratings and things like that in relation to other movies. So, yeah, there's not really anything at this point that I would change. I think in the first 50 movies we changed a few. But yeah, at this point, I think we're locked in on it. We've got enough data. We've watched enough movies that it's not a problem anymore. With having to go back and change our scores, change our opinions.
Yeah, and to an earlier point that you made, like we watched a lot of bigger and more recent movies in this 50. And so when it's more recent, you just kind of have a better sense of what it's going to be anyway. A lot of these movies, like The Boy in Blue, I had never even heard of it. I had no idea what that was. And it was kind of hard to actually track down. Same with Never on Tuesday. Same with Time to Kill. Those movies barely exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's just one of those things where, when you're watching National Treasure Book of Secrets and you're watching Matchstick Men and Wind Talkers and Knowing and these bigger movies that have come out, that have been in theaters when I've gone to the theater, it's just a different experience.
Yeah, agreed.
You look at our Cageometer, again, comingofcage.com to find that. And really, like, there are just clusters of movies. There's a couple of outliers. Pig is an outlier. The closest thing to Pig is Adaptation. The two of them are kind of off on their own, but everything else is really in these clustered areas of being, kind of in these groupings of high caginess, low quality, high caginess, high quality, low, low, whatever. And so check it out, and you can kind of get a sense of where his movies fall and what you might like too.
Yeah, no matter what kind of movie you like, whether you like him being cagey or like him being serious, you have options there.
Hmm.
I mean, we have narrowed it out or laid it out pretty clearly for anybody that is, not necessarily a Nick Cage fan or doesn't know what they're getting into to start being a Nick Cage fan on either end of the spectrum.
Yep, yep. Well said. Well, that is all of the prepared questions that we have. Ryan, is there anything else about these 50 or the first 100 as a whole that you just want to make sure is said?
I don't know. We've done so many movies here in this last 50. I'm just kind of glancing through the list right now. I'm just gonna kind of hit on some of these that I would just, Matchstick Men, surprising, enjoyed it. Let's see. Jujitsu, disappointing. Cool premise, really disappointing overall. Primal was ridiculous. Um, Amos and Andrew, didn't even know it existed. Probably shouldn't exist, having seen it now. Deadfall, if you're looking for caginess, I mean, it doesn't get any cagier than that, really, other than
Yeah.
Vampire's Kiss. Let's see. Honeymoon in Vegas, yeah, we've talked about that one already.
Hmm.
USS Indianapolis Men of Courage. Go listen to that episode because I had no idea this was based off a true story when I went into it, and it's the most ridiculous story, even though it's real, that you can imagine.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Uh,
I
Mom
mean,
and Dad.
oh
I
God.
mean, that one was one that we both were looking forward to. I hadn't heard of it, but you kind of got me excited for it, and then it just kind of ended up being mostly disappointing. Well, the third act was,
Yeah. I,
there,
I liked it a lot less than you did.
yeah, I forgave a lot more than you did. I still think it holds up decently, and it's something nice, different from Nicolas Cage. Long Legs, I'm not a big horror guy, but he was great in that, and it was a good movie. Um, Kick Ass, obviously one of my favorites. Color Out of Space. Still don't really understand that one, but great visuals. Yeah, I mean there was a lot of highlights looking through these movies, a lot of good memories. Talking about them with you. So, um, yeah, I think I'm looking forward to. We might not get another recap like this for 50 movies.
Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, so far this has been a really good experience, and I'm looking forward to the next 25 or 30 plus the TV show he's got coming out. So, yeah.
Yeah, very good. I'm basically with you there. Sympathy for the Devil was really fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Just to throw that one out there. I found that, Bringing Out the Dead, super heavy, really serious, but also, pretty good movie. There's some bad ones in here. Time to Kill was terrible. Pretty kind of messed up, weird military film there. But there's definitely good stuff. Raising Arizona was super fun. Renfield, I mean, it was great seeing him as Dracula. I thought he was
Yeah,
just
for
wonderful
sure.
as Dracula, even though the movie may not have been incredible. And even like in some of these bad ones, his character in Gunslingers, like, is such a cool, unique, weird. He's got this like raspy voice he puts on and everything
The
with the
cross
the
glasses.
cross glasses. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's still like there's something worth watching there. So there's some fun stuff. Now, what's coming up for us? We're doing things a little bit different for the next few weeks. So this is, by the way, our 4-year anniversary of the show.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it just happened to work out that this is our 4-year anniversary of the show. It wasn't planned that way. It just kind of happened. We do
What
about,
what are you supposed to get for somebody on their fourth anniversary?
I have no idea.
I'm going to Google it.
Ryan's going to look that up. So this is our 4th anniversary. So we are kicking off season 5 of the Coming of Cage podcast, and we're kicking it off with a special 2-parter releasing back-to-back weeks where we will be diving deep into Spider-Noir. So we're going to be splitting that up into just 2 parts, first half and second half, because it's a show and it's just too much. And so we're going to be splitting that up. We're going to be releasing 3 episodes in a row, basically, to get these out the door. So that's going to be really exciting. So we won't be getting back to a Nicolas Cage movie until episode 105 in
That's right.
July, which is just kind of wild. No, that's not right. July is not right. I have to fix the dates on my form, but it's
And
episode
also for
105.
us, it's different than what it is for you guys because we record different. So,
It's before July. It's in
yeah, we've
June.
got stuff happening. Just
My
deal with it.
my dates are messed up. But
And
yes,
and if
so
you want to buy us a 4th anniversary present, traditionally fruits and flowers,
oh,
or the modern theme is appliances. So Glow
appliances.
recommends gourmet treats, also kitchen upgrades such as a high quality espresso machine, air fryer, or premium blender, or a coffee/tea station. So,
Ooh,
or gemstones. Blue topaz is a traditional 4th anniversary present. So any of those,
lots of
reach out
options.
to Derek on social media, and he'll give you his address.
Yeah.
And I'll just come pick them up from him. Anything that's intended for me.
I've
Uh,
been wanting a panini press. Uh,
hey, that would fit the criteria. So yeah, get Derek his panini press, and yeah, he'll become the next chef a la pig.
that's right. Yeah. It's all
Yeah,
all in honor of Rob.
that's right.
Uh, So, first off, thank you to everybody who sent us questions. Marcy, Amber, Ian, Jordan, and Ray. Thank you so much. Appreciate your support. And thank you to everybody who has listened to any of these 102 episodes, 100 movie reviews.
Derek's getting choked up
I
right
am.
now.
I'm just like, can't. I'm just water.
He just needs water. No, but yeah, for real, we appreciate you. Me and Derek went into this podcast. You might know that we did another podcast together with his wife, and did a lot of episodes of that, and it was a great time. We kind of burned ourselves out by trying to, constantly push for more listeners and constantly push for things like that and live streaming and everything else. And it was fun, yeah, but it was also an experience. And this podcast has done, we've been doing more for just the joy of spending time together and talking, about things we like. So we have been less. You may have heard Derek mention earlier that you can look at our listener or subscriber count or whatever, and that is a joke. But also, we're not doing this, to get a bunch of listeners and everything. So when we do have somebody that listens, it is meaningful, and we appreciate you. So, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I love anytime there's a comment or a review. It really just means a lot. If you review us, we will read your review on the show. We've done it the handful of times that's happened. So we would appreciate that. And, Ryan, you and I have done, I don't know the exact number, but you and I have done together over 350 podcast episodes.
A lot.
Is that crazy?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It
probably
makes me
closing
feel
in on,
old.
it's
And
closing in on 400, I
it's over
guess.
a decade
Yeah,
at this point.
2014 is when we started,
Yeah, so
you
we're well
know.
over a decade.
And we had a show, before Screen Heroes. Screen Heroes went 252 episodes, not counting any specials. And then we did a show before that I think had like 40 episodes, give or take. So we might be closing in on 400 here.
Yeah, probably, but who's counting, right?
I don't know. I'd have to do some math, but yeah. So anyway, thank you all for your support. We don't have ads or anything, at least not anymore, because we didn't want to have to worry about any of that stuff. So it's just us, just for fun. You can catch all of our links and social media and all of that at comingofcage.com. We have our Wheel Cage that picks our next movie. You can check that out on social media, particularly like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. We do our Cage O Bingo, same spiel. That's a custom Nicolas Cage themed bingo that we've put together. You can listen to us on your podcast app of choice. You can watch us on the Derrico Studios YouTube channel. All of our links, comingofcage.com. We will be back next week. That's right, 2 weeks in a row. And then the week after that, 3 weeks in a row to cover Spider Noir the next 2 weeks. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Derek, and that is Ryan.
It is. And we'll see you in the Spider-Verse.